Welcome to Thursday Aspirations, the time and a place and a space for teachers who are seeking a brighter future. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we'll be looking at mindsets in a few moments.
Good evening. I'm Dorothy, and I'm very pleased to see you all here. Let's give a few moments let's give a chance for a few more people to join us during this live presentation. It's only going to be about 10 minutes chat, so it's just, you know, a nice chat while you are maybe cooking dinner or putting kids to bed even. All right, great. So shall we start? Let's start. Welcome to the future. Now, probably if you are joining us tonight, you are a teacher, and a lot of teachers are currently not happy, overstretched, not really fulfilled in the job they are doing. And you may have dreams of a much greater and better future for yourself and for your family. And this great future, this prosperous future, may actually lay outside teaching. And that's why we created Thursday Aspirations for you, and this chat on Thursdays, every Thursday at 7 o'clock. And that's why we founded Personal Aspirations, which is a dream which can help you to get where you want to get, where you want to get in the future. Now, Thursday Aspirations is actually your chance to explore specific ideas about using your teaching skills beyond the classroom. And tonight, Mary is going to be talking about mindset. So over to you, Mary.
Thank you. Let's start with a picture. So this is a picture that, because I used to teach psychology, and it's a picture that I would use when we dealt with perception. And it's quite a classic picture of its kind. And what the question I would ask of you is, how old is this woman? How old is this woman? And the likelihood is that you'll come up with quite a clear answer. You would think of her as being maybe somewhat less than 30, perhaps 25. Or you might think of her as somewhat over 80. And it's hard to believe, particularly when the slide is shown to a group of people, that some of the people in the group are saying, but that woman is, you know, is an old crone, she's an old dear. And others are saying, no, it's a young socialite. Because in the picture, there are both versions, but we tend to only see one. And that's what we'll be looking at today, is the way in which we can put blinkers on sometimes in life and only see one thing. And if we could stand back a bit further, we might see a lot more and therefore make different choices or more informed choices. If, because this is quite a crisp and tight production tonight, look up Leaper, Leeper, on the internet if you can't see both versions of this lady, and you will see the images. You will see how it's set out, how they both work. So we will go, firstly, we're going to do an awareness test. Now, if you've never done this before, this is really fascinating. You're going to see two teams, basketball teams, practicing, and they're just passing basketballs, and you're just asked to count the number of passes the white team makes. You'll be told that again. It's very straightforward. Just count. That's all you have to do. Count how many times the white team passes the ball.
Awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Go!
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
I should just say about that, that was an advert that came out about 20 years ago, something like that. But I can remember the first time I saw it and trying very hard to get the number of passes right, and then could not believe that something as obvious as somebody dressed up as a bear walking right across the center of the screen, they could completely miss that. And that's really the theme of tonight, is what are the things that we're not seeing because we are so focused on other things. So, for example, if we are following a career as a teacher, we're so focused on making a success within that sphere, we may not think what would happen if we stood back and looked to do other things alongside, or indeed to choose to go in a different direction. And it's not the job of Dorothy and I to say you should be doing that, but it's just you might want to take time and think about it. So we're going to look a little bit more at the question of mindsets. And this is part of our midterm program, our 7-step program, where we look at each of the aspects that you might want to consider if you were thinking about planning a career shift, a career change of some sort. And as I was saying, there are 7 simple steps here in the midterm system. 3 of them are more interior in nature, mindset being one of those, inspiration and decision making another 2. And then 4 of them are more exterior, finding a good mentor, doing research, choosing the enterprise or niche that you might actually develop for yourself and build a business around, and then using time effectively, because as a teacher, or indeed in any profession, you're so stretched doing what you're doing now, it can be difficult to create time, but it is necessary to do so. So we're looking then at the mindset part of it today. And there are 4 P's to mindsets that we're going to consider. The first one is perception. This is an interesting picture because it plays with the brain, or the brain plays with it. And you may, as you're staring at it, if you've not seen it before, it's called the Necker cube. And you may see it pop. You may see it suddenly, you see it from one point of view, and then suddenly you see it from another point of view. And if you can't get it to make that change, try blinking a few times, and you may find that then when you look, or look at a different corner to the one that you were focusing on, and you may find that you see it a different way. The fact is the brain can see this in 2 quite distinct ways. Another example of a way in which our perceptions can fool us sometimes is what's called the Muller-Lyer test. And in this, you look at these two arrows, one with the arrowheads inwards, one with the arrowheads outwards, and probably you see the bottom line as significantly longer than the top line. And it's such a powerful illusion, because I promise you the bottom line is the same length as the top line. It's such a powerful illusion that it's difficult to believe that those two lines are actually the same length. There are various theories about why we see it in this way, and they're quite interesting. We won't go into them tonight. The point being that we do see the bottom line as longer, even though it actually isn't. An even more powerful illusion, and one that I think makes the point very well for us tonight, is that these two tabletops appear entirely different. And I do recommend to you, if you're watching this on a screen that you can take a screenshot of, take a screenshot of this, print it out, cut out one of the tabletops and lay it on the other one, and you'll be amazed to find it fits exactly. In other words, if we cut the one out on the left, turned it 90 degrees and laid it on the one on the right, you would find it's exactly the same length, exactly the same breadth. But the illusion, because we're so used to seeing things in terms of perspective, the illusion is so powerful that it's very hard to believe that that is actually true without actually testing it. And if you haven't done so, you could measure it with your fingertips now and just see that that is actually the case, that this illusion is this powerful. So how we perceive things is influenced by our expectations. We see what we expect to see, or we see what we have been trained to see. So, for example, with the Muller-Lyer illusion we were looking at a moment ago, it's believed one of the reasons that we have this is because we live in rooms much of our life that have corners. And the one below represents a corner further away, and the one above represents a corner closer to us, and we learn to see them in that way. There's a debate about that, but it's an interesting theory. But how we see things affects the choices we make. We see it this way, so we choose according to what we see. But of course, if you could see something in an entirely different way, you might make a different choice. And we may need to challenge ourselves. And I think what Dorothy and I am inviting you to do tonight is to say, well, where are the areas in my life where I might change what I take to be the truth? And I might say, well, maybe there's another way of looking at that. Because we have mindsets about who we are as a person. And I used to, with my psychology students and other students as well, I would ask them a very simple question and say, write me down about 20 answers to that as quick as you can. And the question was, who am I? And most people who are in a profession, a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, whatever, a teacher, a musician, who they are professionally will come out in the first two or three, usually the first one. We usually define ourselves by our occupation. We then may say that we're a parent, or that we're a man, or we're a woman. We might say, as we start thinking more, we might come up with different sorts of words. But the first few are the ones that really fix us and define us. And if we're going, for example, if we're a teacher, or if we're a doctor, or if we're a lawyer, and saying, maybe I want to do something else for the second half of my life, it's a big wrench from our way of answering the question, who am I? And one of the things we suggest at Personal Aspirations is to take time in ways that we can show you to really get in touch with your true north, your real sense of purpose, your sense of destiny, your sense of fulfilling maybe the dreams you had when you were still a child or a teenager. And if you've drifted quite a long way from that, or if in your professional situation now you don't feel you're fully in alignment with what you could or should be, then maybe you're a bit out of touch with your true north. And that is a mindset thing. It's a matter of looking at what's possible. The third P is to do with place. And we have a sense, in terms of geography, in terms of the nature of the type of place, the type of life, we have a sense of, this is me, this is what I deserve, this is what I can do, this is what's possible. But maybe there are other things that are possible. A good question to ask is, do you want to be in the place you are now in 5 years' time? And if the answer to that is, well, maybe not, then you start asking different questions about what do I need to do now in order to have the sort of freedom that young woman is having in 5 years' time, the chance to work where you choose to work and when you choose to work is a different place in life. And the final P is perspective. We can challenge ourselves and say, is there a fresh perspective I can take here? Can I stand on a different hilltop? Can I see things a different way? And as we might look at some of those illusions and realize we can see those things in a different way, we then can choose to see our own life in a different way and ask different questions and open up different possibilities. That's just a quick touch in on mindsets. There's a lot more that we could say about that, but just to say that next week we would be looking at inspiration. And Dorothy, over to you.
Well, I'm so glad that so many people have joined us. I've just seen so many names: Kathy, Joe, Laura. Thank you very much for joining us and actually starting to follow us every Thursday. If you enjoyed our chat today, please tell your friends, tell your colleagues at work, tell the teachers you know that we are doing those chats every Thursday at 7 o'clock. Do leave comments. We'll try to answer any comments, any questions you may have in the chat. And we'll see you next Thursday for another part of Thursday Aspirations. Good night.
Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.